start this video. Okay, this is the first video ever on my second channel, my new channel, Hannah Glow. Hi, welcome. If you're one of the, like, I think we're at almost 6,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for that first and foremost. That's dope. But today's video, I'm gonna, basically, before we get into this video, I do just want to give a little preface, because this is like the first video I'm ever posting on this channel. I don't fully know what this channel is gonna be yet. I don't fully know what I'm gonna do. I have a lot of ideas and a lot of things I would like to do, and basically it's just gonna be all the stuff that I think people might not necessarily really care about on my main channel, but that like a core group of people who really like me will care about on this channel. So that's kind of what this is for. I'm not 100% how it's gonna go. I'm not 100% what we're gonna do, but I hope that you'll, you know, enjoy the videos we put out. There's gonna be at least one video a week. That's kind of my little marker for myself. And if there's more, dope. I actually already have another video filmed that isn't this one. That's just like a try-on haul. Something I always wanted to do on my main channel and then couldn't. So really cool that this is happening. So yeah, today's video. So I have this idea for my channel to do not really a podcast, but just kind of videos talking about reality television. My like vice in life is reality TV. I just love it. I love watching the lives of people that I can't relate to in the slightest and just seeing what their day-to-day problems are. So I was gonna start by watching Real Housewives of New York City because I've heard that's a really, really good one to start with for the Real Housewives saga. But I just got finished watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Well, I'm almost done with season 9. So I'm caught up for the most part. I'm caught up to the point that Hulu will allow me to be caught up at. And I decided that I couldn't just like exist and not talk about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and like everything that happened with them. So I decided today it would be really fun to just rank every single Real Housewives of Beverly Hills that I've seen and talk about them. This way I can kind of talk about the entire show up till season 9. Like I can give my opinions on everything and also can give you my opinions on each housewife. I just thought it'd be a fun way to like kind of memorialize that I did watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and I do in fact need to talk about it because my fiance certainly doesn't care and I think my dogs are even getting sick of hearing about Lisa Vanderpump. So without further ado, let's start ranking the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Let's get started. So, I want to start not with Kyle Richards, only because I feel as if that's like a lot. She's been on every season so far, and I'm pretty sure even now they're shooting season 11, I'm pretty sure she's still on the show. She's kind of my one consistent, so I want to talk about her a little bit later, but let's start with somebody who is like a one-seasoner. Let's talk about her. Okay, I don't remember her name. I don't remember her name. She's probably the only one actually that I don't remember her name, but I remember that Brandy said some very mean things about her name. So I remember that. Here's the thing. She's beautiful, gorgeous girl. She was super like, seemed super nice, but also I felt like she was trying too hard to be like overly sexual for some reason. Like I felt like she was trying to be a little bit something that she wasn't. Because I remember there was that awkward dinner conversation where she like talked about her husband's dick. And it was kind of weird. I will say, everybody was really mad at her for saying that Brandy was a bully. She was right. Like, high key, she was incredibly correct about that. Like, she was correct about Brandy. Brandy was so mean to her. Like, she kept calling her the wrong name. She kept, like, saying mean comments about her. She said a racist comment to her. Like, Brandy, this was before I feel like a lot of the housewives turned on Brandy. Like, I feel like they all still liked her at this point, so they defended her actions against this girl because they like didn't care about her. But I feel like had this girl been on in later seasons with Brandy when they all started to not like her, they all would have agreed with her that Brandy was a bully. But I feel like the timing was off for her, unfortunately. She's beautiful though, very gorgeous girl. She seemed like she did a lot of charity work too, which I can respect. And I also Googled it because I Google their net worths. I think it's fun to see their net worths. And her husband, I believe, was like number 3 or 4. Very rich guy. So she'll be fine without the housewives, you know, she'll make it. Let's just talk about her too, because she was another one-seasoner. So here's the thing. She was not boring. This is Carlton. Carlton was definitely very interesting. And at first, I thought I was gonna like Carlton because I liked this sort of like bad girl vibe that she gave off. Like I liked this sort of like, she wasn't your typical housewife. Like she was like, she had all these interests. She had all these interests and she had all these kind of unique things about her. Her house was so unique and cool. It wasn't like the stereotypical Beverly Hills mansion. Like I thought she was gonna be cool. And frankly, I agree with Miss Kyle here that she was just looking for tits on an ant. Like, she was absolutely just trying to find problems with everything Kyle did for seemingly no reason. Like, Kyle really didn't do anything to her. I think what really happened is Carlton and Brandy got kind of close, and I think that Carlton had like a crush on Brandy. Like, I think there was some stuff happening there, which is fine, but I think there was some stuff happening there. And so I think because of that, Brandy was like, well, I don't like Kyle, so Carlton was almost like the mouthpiece for Brandy. I feel like Brandy was almost pulling some like Lisa Vanderpump action with Carlton. I feel like she was using Carlton to say negative and mean stuff about Kyle that Brandy wanted to say, but like couldn't for whatever reason. So she really, who gave her a diamond? I would agree, because she turned out to be really just like mean and like also hyper aggressive and found issue with everything. It got to a point where like during the reunion show that she was in, because she was only in one season, during her reunion show when she was fighting with Kyle, I was like, can you just shut up? Because it was over the stupidest stuff. Like, I will say, I think that Kyle calling her like anti-Semitic was a reach. She had like a tattoo and Kyle thought it was like the Star of David and she got all offended. So Kyle was like, oh, well, you're anti-Semitic. That was a reach. Like, that wasn't real. But I will say, other than that, she just had a host of issues and just like didn't end up being. She was also low-key kind of rude all the time. I feel like she just always had like a weird attitude. I never saw her like, she didn't have a lot of positives for me, you know, beside the fact that I liked her vibe. Like, I liked that she was like into a bunch of different, I liked all of that, but didn't really like her. Let's talk about Yolanda. Ugh. I have to say, I'm gonna put her in Great Wife. I might put her in Icon, depending, but I actually, you know what, I'm gonna put her in Icon. I loved Yolanda. I think I have a little bit of personal bias with her because my mom has an invisible illness that she struggles with, and I know how difficult it is to like get your family and friends to believe you that like you actually have something wrong. You're not just staying in bed because you want to, but like you physically can't get out of bed. I also feel like she was done so dirty by people like Lisa, Kyle, and other Lisa Rinna. It's one thing for people and like tabloids to speculate on your health, but I can't imagine the pain of like seeing your friends speculate on not only your health, but like your children's health. I know her and David didn't last, but I also loved her as a wife. She seemed like she genuinely was like a good wife, and like a good mother. Like, you saw her interacting with her children all the time. You saw her interacting with her husband all the time. And she also seemed like she had a really like strong head on her shoulders. She was honestly, in most of the fights, she was the most reasonable, which sometimes made her a little bit boring almost, because she was like so reasonable. It's not as interesting to watch. But as far as like best housewife, I think she's one of the best. And I also actually really respected her decision to leave the show after she got her divorce and after everything with her Lyme disease happened. I really respected that from her, because a lot of these women stayed on like one to two seasons too long. Like, they should have left before shit really hit the fan for them. Kim, I'm looking at you, Kim. Same thing with Taylor. Like, they should have left after a certain point, but she knew when to like bow out. It was also very cool to see Gigi and Bella at like a young age and like see the response from their mother, how they were like, right. Although I didn't know that Gigi and Bella lived in a 60,000 square foot home growing up. What? And their dad is like one of the richest people ever? Interesting. Didn't know that. Generally though, I liked Yolanda. I thought she was good. Let's see. Erica Jane. Erica Jane was in the pop icon like category. I loved her. I've loved her on the show. I love the whole, again, kind of like what Carlton, this is what I wanted from Carlton, where she had this like different personality, but she's still like a nice person, seemingly. And I also loved the Erica Jane persona. It's so funny because she came out with a collaboration with Too Faced. I don't know where I'm gonna put her yet. I'm gonna put her down. She came out with a collab with Too Faced called the Pretty Mess Collection. That's where the Pat the Puss highlighter came from. And I was watching this show right when I was doing my Evolution of Too Faced video. So I saw her and I saw I suddenly understood it. Like, I don't like the collection still, but I understood the collection more than I did when it launched in 2018. But anyway, I loved her. I thought she was great. I thought she had some moments where I was like, okay. Like, sometimes she's a little too like snappy, you know? I think that because she plays this very cool persona, I think sometimes she just like kind of holds things in, and then it leads her to lash out at the wrong time. So like when she lashed out at Eileen when they were in, I believe they were in Hong Kong, she lashed out at Eileen because Eileen said something about her son, but Eileen didn't say anything wrong. She definitely just lashed out for no reason. Same thing, sometimes she'll lash out at like Teddy or Dorit. Like I've seen her lash out a little bit, but I don't think she's a bad person. I think she just like holds stuff in a little too much. However, I Googled because I wanted, okay, this sounds really bad, but I wanted to know if her husband in 2020 was still alive, because her husband is a lot older than her. He's like in his 80s and he's like this famous lawyer. So I Googled her because I was like, well, is her husband still around? Like what's going on? Like I want to know because I ran out of seasons to watch. And she is in a lot of trouble right now, where her husband stole money that was supposed to be settlement money for victims of really heinous crimes. Like there was some plane crash victims he stole money from, people who had had cancer as a result of treatment he stole money from. What court documents are starting to show is that that money was funneled into her getting to be this like pop star, this like Erica Jane pop star, and that doesn't sit right with me. I don't know, this is why I'm hesitant, because I don't know what she knows, because there's been no like updates on anything or like depositions with her, so I don't know what role she played in all of that. I don't know what she knows, and I really liked her up until I found that out. And she also filed for divorce from him, which frankly, I mean, I get it. It was pretty clear that they were kind of they weren't like, they might have been a love marriage at first, but it was pretty clear by the time she started shooting the show that like she really didn't see him all that often, and like they lived kind of different lives. Again, which is fine, no judgment, but I don't think the divorce came out of nowhere. I think it probably was just kind of like a beneficial situation for both of them. He got to have this like young wife that he really liked, and she got to have kind of the money, and also it seemed like she did respect him a lot. Regardless, because I don't know one way or the other if she knew, I'm gonna put her steadily in the middle. But if you had asked me this before last night when I Googled her husband, it would have been pop icon. Like I really loved her until that. But if she knew that her husband was stealing money from like victims of plane crashes, she would be all the way down here. For now, we'll put her there. Okay, let's see. Eileen. You know what? I think I liked Eileen. I did. She definitely was a little bit more boring. Like I'll give people who thought she was boring that. She's definitely not the most interesting housewife, but I liked her. I liked her personality. I liked sort of the sense of calm that she brought to a lot of things. Similarly to Yolanda, she definitely had this more like reasonable way of talking about things. I do think Eileen's problem was that she was not willing to let things go. Like she wanted to just like hash out everything, talk about everything, always bring everything up, even at times where it might not have been the most appropriate, which I know probably part of that was for the show, but also just like wasn't a big fan. I also low-key wish that we had gotten to see more of her at work, like doing work on a soap opera. I know that doing soap operas is like the most intense thing you can do, because you're literally learning like 9,000 pages of dialogue every day and you're just supposed to learn it really quickly and then like go do it. So I would have been interested to see more about like her life there. I felt like she was somewhat of an icon in the sense that like she just didn't give a shit about the material stuff, and I thought that was dope. I remember in one episode she had a Louis and everybody's like, oh my god, Eileen. She just didn't care. All these women, the thing about the Beverly Hills Housewives that I think is so interesting is that all of these women, all of the housewives are obviously rich, but these women are like insanely rich. Like they are loaded, like they have wealth, all of them for the most part. And so Eileen not caring about the sort of like vapid materialistic things was just kind of refreshing. Not that I minded it, because I actually loved, some of my favorite parts are when they went shopping, because it's just nutty, like what they buy, it's crazy. But I kind of liked that Eileen just like didn't give into that. And she was like, I don't care about purses, you know? I thought that was cool. I respect Eileen. I liked her. A little bit, you know, I'm gonna put her in cute. She's a little bit boring, and she's a little bit like not the most memorable housewife, but I did like her when she was on the show. I also will say she stood by the people that she said she was going to stand by. Like her and Lisa Rinna had like a friendship going into it, and she stood by Lisa Rinna even when she was wrong. Like she had that loyalty that I think a lot of these women kind of lacked. A lot of them flip-flop. Speaking of Lisa Rinna, love her and I hate her all at the same time. I think it's because I'm like a feeder kid. I have such a love-hate relationship with Lisa Rinna. I love that she is unabashedly extra. I love that she's willing to do anything for a gig. I love that she is so like out there and loud and at times obnoxious, but I like live for it because like I'm a theater. She gives off big theater kid energy and I love that about her. I honestly just don't know where to put her though, because I hated her for some things that she did. Like the whole thing with Yolanda. She should have just owned that she said that Yolanda had Munchausen's and just like moved on. She made this a big deal and like tried to push ownership away. And I find that Lisa Rinna does that a lot. She does things and then she like deflects. She pushes it onto another person. The amount of times on this show that the argument has been about who told who what instead of who did the bad action in the first place is insanity. Lisa Rinna though, I'm gonna have to give her, I just really love her personality too. And I love how she is as a wife and mother. Like I love watching her family life because she has 2 teenage daughters and like seeing her kind of navigate that. Also, I do feel like she's chilled out in recent seasons. I feel like her first couple of seasons she came on and they were like, be this like, you know, drama. They basically were like, get into it. So I think she calmed down after the first couple of seasons. I'm gonna do Great Wife. I genuinely really liked Lisa Rinna. I do. She's enjoyable to watch. I was hesitant when I first saw that she was on the show because I'd only known her from like, I believe it was like random stuff that she had done. I really didn't know her. So I knew of her, but I didn't like know her. So it was cool getting to see her on the show. And as of right now, ending season 9, I genuinely do like her. Teddy's boring. I'm sorry. She is. She's so boring. And she's honestly, I don't agree with Camille often, but Teddy gives off big know-it-all vibes, like big know-it-all vibes. She does. I get that she's like an accountability coach. And I get that she's very reasonable and like she is smart, like to her credit, but she just, first of all, her like she's only interesting in the way that she interacts with other people. Her actual life is not interesting to me at all. Like I don't know what it is about her, but I'm just not intrigued by her. I think maybe because she's so much more chill compared to such loud personalities that she just kind of gets lost. But her first season, I wasn't interested at all. Now I just feel like she's only there to kind of like stir the pot. Right now where I'm at, she's involved in the whole Dorit dog scandal, like the Dorit Lisa Vanderpump dog scandal. And I feel like she played that situation like a little too calculating. I feel like Lisa Vanderpump did not play as big a role as Teddy is claiming, and I feel like Teddy is using pre-existing like ideas about Lisa Vanderpump to kind of get her way and like convince the women that Lisa was the mastermind and she was just like the innocent bystander. You know what I mean? I feel like she didn't really own that situation, and I feel like that's a lot of things with her. She doesn't like own these situations as well, and I do feel like she inserts herself into stuff unnecessarily, like a lot. So, and also I just find her boring, so I don't like her. Okay, Adrienne Maloof. I actually loved Adrienne so much. I loved her so much. And honestly, I know a lot of people, I'm going to put her in the great category. I loved her. I loved Adrienne. I really did. She was my favorite housewife I thought she was going to be on forever. Like I loved her. I couldn't see why she would leave. I understand why she left. Basically, she was great until Brandy got thrown into the mix, and her and Brandy just like did not mesh. And frankly, your spoiler alert, I hate Brandy like a lot. I don't like Brandy. And Adrienne, I feel as though was justified in why she was so angry. For that whole season, Adrienne's last season, where we didn't know what the secret was that Brandy had said, so it just seemed like Paul and Adrienne were like screaming at her for like seemingly no reason, because we didn't know what the reason was because they wouldn't let it be on the show. It was a lot of confusion, and it kind of made me dislike Paul and Adrienne a little bit because I felt like they were just always yelling at people and I didn't know why, and I was like, why would you be on a reality show if you didn't want certain aspects of your life to come out? Like, you know, whatever. I understood after finding out what the secret was, which I think it's public information. It's public information now. Adrienne basically didn't carry her 2 children. She had a surrogate carry them. I can understand why that would be annoying to her and make her angry that Brandy would bring that up. Like, I can really understand that. I would be pissed. I know at the reunion show, Brandy was like, well, her kids don't watch the show. But like other parents at the kids' school watched it. Like that information would have gotten back to the kids. And if she wasn't ready to tell her kids yet, she should not have been pressured or forced into do that because of a reality TV show. I feel like for the most part, most of these women did a really good job at leaving kids kind of off the table. Like they didn't bring each other's children into the mix. But once Brandy did that and everything blew up with Adrienne, I understood why Adrienne was so pissed. And I was actually confused why Bravo was so mad at Adrienne Adrian for like not wanting to do the show anymore and not wanting to be at the reunion. Like, I understand why Adrian was so mad. That's like to mess with somebody's kids. I feel like I get it, you know? I still liked Adrian too. I thought she was great. She was funny. She was sassy. She had a really good sense of humor. I do feel like she was maybe a little bit oversensitive, because now I'm remembering like she was mad at Lisa for not having her daughter's bachelorette party at the Palms, and like sometimes she did things that were she got a little oversensitive, but I liked Adrian a lot. And I always loved looking at her faces during fights. She had the best facial expressions. Those season 1 through 3 fights were a lot. So Camille to me seems a little bit like a chameleon, if you will. Camille to me is just so kind of, she's very, very nice to your face, and then I feel like she turns around and says horrible things about everyone. I feel like she doesn't even really like anyone in the group fully. I think her and Kyle are good now after a few seasons. Like, I know season 1 and 2 there was a lot of headbutting, but I feel like her and Kyle are okay. But it doesn't seem like she actually really likes anyone. She talks horribly about all of the women, and even the ones invited to her wedding. She was like, didn't want them there basically, and was like mad that they were there. So I don't know. I have weird thoughts about Camille because I just feel like she's kind of fake. Which is, I hate people who, there's a few different people in life that annoy me. People who are fake but constantly boast about how real they are is one of those, and that is Camille to me. Like, she constantly talks about how real and honest and upfront she is, but then she makes these like really mean offhanded comments, or like jumps in when it's unnecessary, or talks so much crap behind people's back and then like is really nice to their face. So yeah, who gave this wife a diamond? Let's just do Kyle. I gotta say, I'm sorry. I love Kyle. I do. I think part of it is because she's been on the show for so long and I have followed her whole kind of journey. I think seeing growth in Kyle has been awesome. Like, from starting from season 1, how she was and how she acted, to the kind of the transformation into how she is now in season 9. It's really cool to see. I also think Kyle is genuinely one of the more like laid back ones. Like, yeah, she can be a little uptight sometimes, but like, she's the first to make jokes. She seems like she's really fun to be around. I would like be friends with Kyle. I feel like out of all of the women, Kyle is the one that I would want to be friends with, because it just seems like she's genuine, you know? I think she does struggle with having a little bit of like a backbone sometimes, and I think sometimes she overdoes it with her backbone. Like, she's like, oh, I don't have a backbone? Okay, let me cuss you out. So I think she struggles with that, but I think overall, she's been my favorite consistently every season for the most part. Like, she's really, besides Yolanda, like, I really, really like Kyle. I think things kind of fell off the last couple of seasons because of her relationship with Lisa, which Lisa, I go back and forth. Lisa, it's so hard. Lisa doesn't belong in any of these categories, honestly, because it's really hard. Lisa is so, if you ask her, is like the best. But if you ask the other women, they all have Lisa Vanderpump stories. Like, every single one of the women who have been with Lisa have been like, she did this to me, she sold this story, she made me. I think Lisa is great for producers. I think the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills producers love Lisa. I think that's why they gave her a spin-off show, The Vanderpump Rules, because she seems like she does a great job at finding these juicy plot lines and furthering the plot lines for the sake of the show. I think Lisa is very much, this is all television, I don't really care when it comes to a lot of this drama, whereas I think a lot of the other women are very much like they actually care about the drama that's happening. And I think that's where the disconnect happens. I think Lisa kind of understands doing something for the sake of the show and having a drama. Because if you'll notice, the real drama that happens in her life is never on the show. Like, the stuff with her and Brandy, we never fully figured out what happened. The stuff with her and Cedric, we never fully figured out what happened. Like, the real life drama that she goes through with friends, we don't hear a lot about. But the drama, at least from her, but the drama that's like bullshit and petty and silly, she feeds into that heavily and like will heavily talk about it. I liked Lisa a lot, and honestly, originally when Camille said that Lisa like goaded her into saying something, I was like, well, that's stupid. And then Lisa Rinna said it, and then Teddy said it, and then Brandy said it. So everybody's basically saying that Lisa is kind of like the puppet master. But in a way, does that not, even though I don't know if she's like the best person, does that not make her slightly iconic? Does it not? I genuinely feel like she's kind of iconic for what she's been able to do with this show. And I also love her dogs, and I love her love of dogs. It's like my favorite thing ever. Jiggy died recently. Oh my God, so sad. He is the cutest little dog. I also, though, I do feel, okay, I'm conflicted though too, because I do feel like her husband sometimes majorly crosses lines, and I feel like nobody calls out the fact that Ken is like like made horrible to some of the girls, like has said horrible things about some of the women and to some of the women. And I hate that. I hate when, like, I know that women, you're not in control of your husband, but if Charles said to one of my friends that she was like a stupid bitch, we'd have a problem. So I don't know. She's definitely higher though. You know, I'm going to put her right in the middle, only because I do think she's somewhat iconic, but I also think she's kind of like not a great person. So I go back and forth on Lisa, but she's definitely entertaining. And I don't think we would have the show be as interesting as we have it without Lisa, you know? Also, I'm going to put Catherine in the Z category. I think the problem with Catherine was she was kind of cast to be the substitute for Brandy, because when she did her one season, it was Brandy's season that she left. So Brandy was no longer on the cast, and I think they cast Catherine with the intention of having her be the like loudmouth blonde, the way that Brandy was, but to Brandy's credit, it just didn't hit the same with Catherine doing it. Like, it felt weird. It felt forced. I feel like Catherine, her real personality wasn't ever really on the show. So for that reason, she's a Z. But Denise Richards, I'll do Great Wife. I don't know if she's an icon because I haven't seen her that much. She's only been on one season so far that I'm watching, but genuinely really like Denise Richards on the show. I think she's got a dope vibe. She's super chill. She doesn't really stir up stuff, but she definitely speaks up when drama happens. I think she's got a cool sense of style. I loved her wedding. I thought the wedding that they did was so cool. She seems like she's also like, she's got like a sense of realness to her because she's been through it. Like, she was married to Charlie Sheen and all that stuff happened, and it seems like she's kind of been through it in life. And also getting to see her as a mom is really cool. I like Denise. I do. I think she was I don't know if she's on season 10, but I think she was a really good addition, honestly, to the show. Thought she added a level of being grounded that they were trying to get from Teddy, but that they couldn't, so they had to get from Denise. Taylor, oh my God. Taylor shouldn't have been on the show. Point blank, period. Everything that happened with Taylor it was like shocking what happened with Taylor. I Googled halfway through season 2. Or was it season 1? Whichever season her husband passed away on the show, I was in the middle of it and I Googled like, oh, what happened to them? Like, did they get a divorce? And then I found out that he died. And I was like, how she is a person who, again, like, Yolanda left when everything went bad for her in her personal life. Taylor should have literally never been on the show in the first place. She was going through way too much to have to add in like reality TV. I know that a lot of people feel like the reality TV show cameras might have been like a positive thing for her, but I don't know. It seems like that situation just should never have been brought publicly. Like, the fact that there was all of this like talk about the way that the women talked about her too, where like they kind of said that they felt like she was lying, and then there was evidence that she wasn't, and like all of it was just so much darker than should be presented on Bravo. You know what I mean? Like, that should have been its own and also the fact that her daughter, I feel bad for her daughter, honestly, because her daughter now has to watch back a lot of that and watch back that whole trauma kind of unfold. And that just sits weird with me. So I definitely, it's not that I didn't like Taylor. I thought she was like a little bit, you know, I found her to be a little bit annoying. But given what she was going through, I just think she shouldn't have been on the show in the first place. And a lot of the women were like, well, if you didn't want your abuse out there, you shouldn't have signed up to be on the show. And it's like, you guys shouldn't have put her on the show anyway. Nobody should have put this woman in a position where she had to fear for her life because of rumors being spread by her friends. Like, that's just, in her child's life. Like, that's just absurd. I also will say the fact that I knew of the meme of her where she was screaming and crying, and then there's like the cat. It's like a meme. I knew of that meme before I watched the show, and when I saw that scene, I was like, oh my God, that's what the meme is based on? Because it's a woman literally thinking that her husband is going to kill her and her child because of information that has been exposed on this show. And I think it was because it was the early 2000s. It was the early 2010s. I think people didn't take that stuff as seriously back then. That has to be why. Because now this would be like, there's no way they would just casually do this. You know what I mean? She shouldn't have been on season 3 either. I think she should have, like, I don't think they should have put her on. I don't think she should have, like, put herself on. Like, I just think that was a whole dark situation for sure. Okay, Dorit. I go back and forth on Dorit. I find her to be a little bit annoying. I find her to be a little bit annoying, but I respect, like, I'm gonna put her in cute because I don't dislike Dorit the way that I dislike, say, like, Brandy. Like, I don't dislike Dorit. I just find her to be kind of annoying sometimes. She's grown on me. When she first came on the show, I was like, I cannot stand her. But then she's grown on me over the years. Actually, Dorit, honestly, like, I think she belongs on the show. But the whole thing with the dog, the fact that people are mad at Lisa Vanderpump for leaking the dog story and not mad at Dorit for abandoning a dog and resulting the dog to be put in a kill shelter blows my mind. Why are we not more mad at Dorit? I feel like I am mad at Dorit. I'm not mad that Lisa Vanderpump told people. I'm mad that Dorit did it in the first place. I don't understand how the whole situation has gotten so twisted that now it's like, well, Dorit isn't in the wrong at all and Lisa is for telling people. No, I would tell people too. If somebody I trusted and I gave them a dog from my dog shelter, it's something I feel very passionately about, and they know I feel passionately about, and then they mishandled that situation so horribly to the point that the dog almost got killed, yeah, I would tell people too. Lisa was not wrong for telling people that. I'm sorry. I don't know how it got so twisted to be Lisa's fault that Dorit's feelings got hurt because her shitty actions were exposed. Anyway, I'm gonna put Dorit in cute. I don't think she's a horrible person, but she's not my like favorite housewife. She's just kind of meh. Just kind of meh. Okay, these two are the most, I feel like, complicated. Brandy. Let's do Kim actually first. Kim Richards. Okay, as somebody else who's also in recovery, I cannot imagine, number one, having it be exposed that I'm an alcoholic on national television, but number two, and against my will, like I didn't want that information out there. Number two, having to go to rehab so publicly. Number three, having a very public relapse, and then also trying to get sober again after that. Like, I can't imagine the trauma that having to go through all of that in the public eye caused her. I have a lot of like empathy for Kim because I just can't imagine that type of trauma. Like that's traumatic to go through as somebody who, I had a relatively like calm recovery situation. So to imagine my recovery happening in a situation that was that chaotic, I feel really bad for her. At the same time, the way that Kim acted and the way she treated other people and the way that she just acts in general, even when she's sober, for example, because I don't even want to judge her based off of the things she does when she's using, but when she's sober, the way that she acts towards other people and the way that she treats other people and the way that she won't take accountability for things, at least how it was portrayed on the show, really bothered me. Like, I was just like really put off by her and her energy and even especially with like the stuff with Lisa Rinna. I just felt like she was so wrong for that because they were right. Like, should they have been bringing it up in front of cameras and shouldn't they have been dealing with it privately if they thought Kim had relapsed? Yes. But they were correct that she relapsed at that time. Like, they weren't lying. They weren't wrong. They knew something was wrong and they tried to speak up and help their friend, which is kind of what you should do, frankly. Kim used that against them for seasons because they cared about her and they were worried about her and they spoke up about it. I think Kim and Kyle has talked about this a lot too because they're sisters. I think Kim struggles with being open about things. Like, everything, it seems like in their family was kind of this secret. So to have everything out there and be so public, I think is really hard for her. And I think that's why she acts the way she acts sometimes. But to not take accountability for those things later on just really like does not sit well with me for her as a person. I struggle with her. It's hard because she had some really funny moments too. Like, there were times I was like, oh my God, Kim's hysterical. So I'm going to put her, honestly, I don't think Kim should have been on the show either. I think she wasn't at a point in her life where like she should have been on the show and should have had to deal with all of that. Like, I don't think she should have been on the show either, frankly. I think that was like, especially, I don't know why, I don't know. Some of these women, I genuinely, like Taylor and Kim especially, I'm like, I don't think they should have been on the show in the first place because of what they were dealing with and how serious and how whenever reality TV turns into like, oh, there's real life ramifications for these people, like there's real life actual detriment where it's causing like death and relapse and stuff like that. Whenever it gets to that point, that's when I get really like, okay, the camera should have been turned off and like people should have been allowed to deal with that privately. You know what I mean? Brandy. You know what? I'm just gonna keep her down here. Wait, why can't she go back? I don't want her there. Okay. She's not boring. Brandy is not boring. And also, I get why she's on the show, but she's not cute and she's not a great wife and she's not a pop icon either. Brandy's like in her own category. I literally could not dislike a person more than Brandy. At first, I liked her. I was like, okay, she's honest. Like, yeah, she's kind of, abrasive, but like she's honest. She turned into one of those people that uses honesty as an excuse to be a mean person. Kind of like what I said about Camille, where it's like you say you're nice, but then you're not. One of my biggest pet peeves is people who use honesty as justification for being really, really mean and hurtful to other people and actively hurting other people. Like, that is like one of my biggest pet peeves. Brandy was just so too quick to just like jump on people and attack people and hurt people in the lowest way possible. And I understand why none of the housewives wanted her back for season whatever. She got like kicked off, I guess. She claims that like she didn't get kicked off. I fully believe that all of the other housewives just refused to work with her, so that's why they kicked her off. Because ratings wise, her season 5, honestly, the season that she was on and causing the most shit, it was the most entertaining season. Like it was insanity. Like there was so much going on, there was so much drama, and things definitely got a little bit boring after she left. But I would rather things get boring than have to hear Brandy just speaking anymore about these other women. The way that she talked about these women and the way that she immediately went for low blows, the way that she treated other people, by the end of it, I couldn't stand her. Like every time she was on screen, I would just hate it because I just felt like she was so unnecessarily rude and mean. And like, I just don't even feel like she belongs in any of these categories. I guess we'll put her in who gave this wife a diamond because I don't think, well, it's so hard because it's more who gave her a diamond and like let her treat other people that way for so long. I get why it's good for TV, but like the way that she acted was just so awful to me. All right, well, now that I've talked about the Real Housewives for an hour, thank you guys so much for watching this. If you're watching my second channel, I really appreciate it. I'm really excited to post just like random stuff on here. Reality TV is going to be a big focus, but also like books and hauls and fashion and vlogs and just like other fun stuff. And yeah, I love you guys so much. I don't know if I should do my normal outro. I guess just like and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. I love you guys and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
What?